everybody. Welcome to podcast number 171.
That was probably the smoothest intro in some time, bud.
Yeah, I haven't done it in forever. So, that may have been good, but expect a shit show the rest of the way. So, yeah, pretty much. We have our regulars, myself, we have Tim, we have Ty. Carrie is being held up by the big boss, so he won't be able to join us tonight. Do we bring the guest in right away today, or do we...
Let's maybe just touch base maybe on our fantasy baseball.
Yeah, let's talk about the fantasy baseball. We are coming into the final 2 weeks of the regular season. Unfortunately, it looks like the dinger hitters are going to be outside of the playoffs.
Okay, in my defense, that was an excellent strategy at the start of the season when A, I thought I only had to play 8 games, and B, when I thought if I missed playoffs, I was done.
Yeah, no, there's still a consolation round, and there's a punishment for last of the regular season, and there's a punishment for last of the playoffs.
Correct.
It's like playing Monopoly when rules just keep getting added in every week. They're like, oh, just so you know, you actually have to play 3 people at the same time.
Well, at least this way it keeps you invested.
No.
Because you can't win, but you really don't want to lose.
This is dumb. Sports is dumb. Let's talk about the U.S. Open or something.
Hey, but let's be honest, though. I think you're going to be okay, but there is a new 12th place player right now.
No,
Yeah, let's talk about it.
It's not... They're both 12th. They're tied for the last. So they're...
But someone has more wins.
Katie has more
Yeah,
wins.
that's fair. But
That's how we tiebreak, yeah.
so
it's not...
right now, it's Katie and Daryl fighting for last place. And unfortunately for Katie, she's getting killed this week, and Daryl's winning. So...
Because it goes by wins, right? Like, it's not based off how many points behind first you are. They're the same amount of points behind first,
Yes,
but she has more wins.
Yeah,
Correct.
so he just has more ties. So the tie break will be...
But
The tie break will be the number of actual games won, but it's a point system like NHL or
So
something like that.
let's be honest here. So we're looking at this right now. Daryl is tied for last, or is last, and he's playing Hendo. And they're only 8 games apart. Right now, Daryl's up 7-1, so that almost evens them out. Right? And then Katie, who's in 11, is playing 9, which is Johnny. And you think about it, if they somehow flip that around, they can have a 4-way way of finding out who comes in last next week. But for everybody out there, Daryl and Katie play each other. So it is going to come
next
down
week
to
is
that
going to be
match.
fun. Next week is going to be fun to watch.
Because Katie's actually looked at her stuff, Daryl hasn't. So it kind of works out that way. It might be, we're interested to see who loses, and I know, and actually if you look at first, Dexter and Ryan are not necessarily that can still
Well,
change.
we're facing each other right now too.
Yeah. 4-4. My dog Mookie. Who knows? Maybe something happens, and then Ryan doesn't win. Right? That could happen.
So
Interesting.
3 teams have solidified a playoff spot. But if you look down the other way, the difference between 6 and 7 is quite a bit.
And I'm up 7-1 or 6-1 on carry.
So, pretty sure the dinger hitters are done. But it's this. It's this. This is going to be fun. Cannot wait. Tyler's so quiet. I've never seen Tyler so quiet.
Because this is dumb. This is dumb sports that I'm not winning, and I don't want to play it anymore.
Well, we might do a fantasy football draft next week.
I think next week we do fantasy football.
Tyler's going to have an existential crisis right now.
It's okay, but it doesn't matter because Tracy likes fantasy football, and so we're going to do it for Tracy. Okay? Just get over it. It's going to be the way it's going to be. Yeah.
I have comments that should not be shared on the internet. It's fine. Continue. Carry on. New topic, please.
Oh.
Well, shall I bring in a guest?
Yes, we can bring in our guest.
All right, we are going to bring in our guest. What button was that again? That's this one. From Chase, BC, co-proprietor of Village Lanes, we have Calyn Collins.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Welcome
Hello.
aboard. She has been telling me for a long time that she's wanted to get on podcast. And then today she was like, I regret my decisions.
I feel like every time I've said, hey, if you need a guest, I will come on the podcast, I've probably had at least 3 or 4 drinks and probably shouldn't be making those kind of decisions.
So you're basically good to go at this point then?
Yep.
I love the confidence.
Yep, you betcha.
Well, it's good to have you on. We've been
Thanks
looking forward to having you on for quite some time. Tim, where did you want to start today?
Well, maybe we can touch base. I know there's been a lot of unfortunate circumstances with wildfires out there, and I know, Calyn, you were affected for a while out there, so maybe you can touch base on how everything was going out in the Kelowna, Chase, Vernon area out there.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been like a couple weeks now, so bear with me with dates, but 2 Fridays ago, Chase was put on an evac alert. We have a wildfire burning just in the North Shuswap, which is a ways from us, just on the other side of the mountain and across the lake, which was all fine and good because Kelly and the kids and I are living in Salmon Arm out at the lake for the summer. So we figured the only thing we really had to worry about was the lanes if anything was to happen there. And then later on that night, the exact same night, we actually got put on evacuation alert out at the lake property as well. So we were just kind of waiting to see if we were going to have a place to go, if both places got evacuated or what the deal was going to be. And then as of right now, both places are still on alert, but we've moved back into Chase this past week. So, yeah. But yeah, we've had to postpone our leagues by a full week because we haven't even had the chance to do a proper registration day. Kelly, obviously, they closed the Trans-Canada Highway, in between the lake property and Chase. So Kelly couldn't get out here to do any maintenance, and so maintenance is behind. And yeah, I asked him tonight if he wanted to be on the podcast with me, and he looked at me and he's like, there's maintenance that needs to be done. So he's at the lanes doing maintenance, and yeah, we pushed everything back a week or so, and we'll see what happens, I guess. But as of right now, everybody's safe and the lanes are fine. We've had a lot of people reaching out and asking and offering us places to stay, and it's been great. So, but right now, all is fine and good.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy out there. Definitely a lot of heartbreak. You hear a lot of people losing houses and stuff, so it's good to hear you're safe. The other nice thing about the whole thing, too, though, is that you've really seen the community come together. You really have. The amount of posts I've seen, it's hey, if you need a place to stay, there's a place to stay. Anybody that needs help, it's available to them. It's really nice to see a community come together when it's dire.
And it's the bowling community. We've had people from Alberta and Saskatchewan and all over the place saying hey, if you can make it out here and you need a place, we've got a place for you. And that's all bowlers. That's not just people we know day to day. That's from our sport. So it's awesome to see.
Yeah.
So Kelly's doing maintenance right now. I want you to let you know that there is a band shortage in Canada.
Oh,
so
great.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you guys have a healthy stock.
It's okay because I recall going to Williams Lake, and you will remember this before drinks were consumed, that we had chatted about maintenance a little bit and this and that. And I had asked Dex, I'm how often are you guys changing your bands and this and that? And he was not often. He's how often are you changing your bands? And we I shouldn't be sharing any of Kelly's secrets because maintenance people are funny like that. But we have been changing our bands every 6 weeks. Oh. And Dexter was oh my God. He's don't. What are you doing? He's stop that. So we went home from Williams Lake, and I don't think Kel changed the bands for months after.
It was probably awesome, eh? Probably awesome.
I'll let him decide if it was awesome or if it wasn't, but like it's saving us a ton of cash. So
yeah, totally. $10 a band, that adds up real quick.
So stupid.
Isn't it kind of funny when your proprietors get together? A lot of the time, the first thing you talk to is about bands.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's like the jargon we always talk with, but it's usually what we start with.
But bands is so equivalent to pinfall. Like whenever people start talking about like pinfall, the first question is bands. What bands are you guys using, right?
Yeah.
So it's just it goes so hand in hand that I'm not surprised that that's what they start with. But speaking of which, we've always been using the G2s. G2s have been impossible to find this summer. So with the acquisition of Soft Roll from Jeff Young and company, we're switching to the Everstrikes, and we got them in today, so we'll see what they're like.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you hear any complaints, we'll give you Soft Roll's information or Jeff's information for sure. Yeah.
Send it right along.
Yeah. So I guess that being said, I know we have you on podcast, and I know you're really excited to talk about this, but obviously you're a proprietor. But maybe let's give a little bit of a background to your bowling background. I mean, your parents owned Salmon Arm. Right? And then you were off for a little bit, not part of the bowling community that way, and then you got back into it. But maybe give us a little bit of a lowdown on maybe your bowling, your coaching, maybe how you got into Chase.
Sure. So, my parents used to own Salmon Arm, so J Lanes. It's now Lakeside Lanes and Salmon Arm. And then my grandparents actually built that center in the 60s. So that was all fine and good. Mom and Dad sold in 2002. And then they bought a building here in Chase just as like an investment property. They had like a Fields store in it or something at that point. And then, Fields shut down all their stores and they had this big empty building. And my dad had said, he's like, well, the only thing we really know how to do is run a bowling center. So maybe we should look at putting a bowling center back into Chase. That's kind of how Village Lanes got all started up. It was kind of just a fly by the seat of our pants type of thing. And I wasn't working at the lanes at all at that point. And I think it was maybe a month into their first season, and my dad had called me up one night and he's like, I don't know what I was thinking opening a bowling center in my 50s. That was a horrible idea. He's like, would you like be interested essentially in like quitting your current job and coming and taking it over and running it and whatnot? So that's how I got involved. And then right around the same time I had met Kelly, and he moved up here from the Kootenays, and we kind of took it over from them. We bought it in 2016, and then, so we've had it ever since. So, And then bowling, we won't talk about my bowling, Tim.
Yes. Don't worry, you're just like me. We're now just coaches.
I know. We're just coaches now, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
In all fairness, you made a lot of progress this year.
He's talking to Tim. Tim made a lot of progress.
Tim hasn't made progress in a lot of things in a long time.
Yeah, no, it was a much better year for me on the lanes. I know I text Dexter quite a bit throughout the season just to try out some different things and get some advice about stuff. And it was a better season on the lanes. I tried to get a little bit more competitive again this year and stepped into teaching masters. I'm like, that's enough right now. That's where the bar is right now, fellas. I was like, I'm going to give that a go. So, and it was great. It was nice to even just have that little bit of competitiveness back. And I don't know how long it'll last for, to be honest, but I really enjoyed coaching this year. And I think that, I don't know, I know, Tim, you probably are still like jonesing to go bowling and whatever, but I actually really enjoy the coaching side of things. So I think I might just stay put where I am with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. As someone whose sister detests bowling herself, there's always a place for coaches. We need them. Yeah.
And she's fantastic, by the way. I had a chance to meet her there at Nationals there in Edmonton, and she was fantastic. She was great. So, but no, sometimes, I don't know. It's life takes you in a different direction, and you hear it all the time with women particularly, where you have kids and life gets really busy and you take those few years off not realizing how much like it's very detrimental to your game, and it's hard to get back into it after you've been off competitively for a while. So but yeah, I'm all for the coaching thing right now. I love it. It was a great experience in Edmonton, and I'm hoping that it won't be the last time, so we shall see.
Do you want to go through that a little bit? Go through,
Sure.
like, how things went at provincials for you, because you guys made a big run there.
Sure,
How
yeah.
things went at nationals, yeah.
Yeah, we had a great, so from our zone roll offs, I didn't get a chance to go down and watch any of that, but the last day of our zone round, I was kind of watching stats and seeing who the top six were, and it was changing a bit. And at one point, um, the team that I had were sitting top six. And I said to Kelly, I'm like, I got my level 2 or competitive coaching like a few weeks before that zone roll off. So those top six ladies that ended up making it, I had said to Kelly, I'm like, this is the team that I want to coach. I'm like, I don't want to coach any of the other teams. Like, I'm being picky. If they ask, fantastic. If they don't, that's fine. But I was kind of holding out for that ladies team. And it ended up working out that way. And two of those girls on that team, Jessie Buchanan and Ashley Krause, I grew up bowling YBC with from the time we were young kids. One of my best friends, Shannon Cropley, was on that ladies team. She bowls out here in Chase every week. Ashley Davey, who I grew up competing against. And then two of my mentors in the sport, Yvonne Walker and Shelley Stuchnow, were on the team. So it was like I couldn't have handpicked a better team if I tried. And then when they asked, I was so excited. And then, when we went to provincials, we had a little, it's tough for us in the interior, especially because the zone is so spread out. So we've got Shelley coming from Castlegar, which is 6 hours away from Chase.
Yeah,
So we don't have the opportunity to get together and practice or do anything like that. So our first couple of days at provincials were kind of uneasy, still feeling each other out. Not everyone had competed with each other before. And then the last day, I think we were sitting 4th or 5th going into the last day. And I just said to the girls, I'm like, it's now or never. We have the dream team, and if we want to do it, we got to do it today. And they came out guns a-blazing the last day, and we did a full ladder run. So we ended up tying BC North for the final spot in the ladder, and it went points for and against, and we beat them out in that. So we started in 4th. We ran up against Vancouver Island, took a win off of them, and then we came up against Fraser Valley South. I'm trying to make sure this is all correct. Fraser Valley South took a really close win off of them. I think it was less than 15 sticks. And then Lower Mainland ladies, who are you guys know them, they're at nationals every frickin' year for BC. Those group of ladies are my absolute favorite people. They're fantastic competitors. Just the nicest group of women in Rory Stafuric and Jackie Grossart and all those women. But yeah, they came in sitting for a few games, and we took it was a fairly close match, maybe 100 sticks difference. And then in the gold medal game, it was amazing. Our team gelled, came together, and I think we shot a 1,300 and ended up beating them by over 300 sticks in the gold medal match. So we did a full ladder run and beat out the Lower Mainland women twice, which they're just a powerhouse of women. So it was amazing. Right. And then our national appearance did not go as well. But
I remember we were talking that morning, and you were like, "Yeah, we just got to go on a run," and you were like super positive about it too, and
Yeah.
away it went. It was awesome. It was like really neat to follow all day long too, in between.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was by far like my most memorable bowling experience. It was great. And I wasn't even bowling, which was even better. That was fantastic. So, yeah.
So you talked about how kind of you grew up with some of the ladies that you were coaching. You competed against some of them, and then some of them were your mentors. How was it being on the flip side where they're looking to you for advice, a tip, like an approving nod after a ball? Like, what was that side of it like for you?
It was very interesting. Not so much with the girls that I did YBC with, because we always kind of helped each other out that way. We could pick up when somebody was doing something they shouldn't have been, and that was all fine and good. I was pretty nervous going in and coaching Yvonne Walker and Shelley Stuchnow. But they were fantastic. They were so open, and they were ready for criticism. There was never any bad blood or bad feelings about anything that was said. It was fantastic. They were great. At the end of nationals, Yvonne Walker had come up to me and gave me a big hug, and she was like, "I'm so glad that we experienced this together. This is something that we're never, well, not never, but like we may never get to do again together." And it was just like it was a special group, and it was a special time to be able to go to nationals with that specific group of people. So.
And just hearing that alone is just makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
Hardest thing about coaching. How hard was it to control your face?
Are you asking because you know that I don't control my face well?
Calyn, I've known you a long time. You've never really been one to hold in your expressions. How was that?
I think that I had a better handle on it at provincials. I don't think maybe I had the greatest handle on it at nationals. But the girls knew, they also knew, they would go up and bless Shelley. She's fantastic, and she's just an absolute boss on the lanes, and she'll kill me for saying this, but I can't tell you how many times she went turkey 2-pin or double 2-pin, and I didn't need, if my face wasn't being controlled, neither was hers, so it was fine.
Totally.
So they knew. It was pretty hard. And you and I,
it's tough.
Oh, it is hard. And only because that just shouldn't happen. And it does. It's human error, and it does happen, but I don't think I've seen Shelley miss the middle more than a dozen times in my life of watching her. So to have those moments to remind everyone I'm human and it happens.
Totally.
And like I said, my face, they were making their face at themselves. And I was sharing the experience with them. I was just helping share that
Everyone knows. Everyone knows whether they made a good shot. Everyone knows if they made a bad shot. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
So, I was fortunate to have 3 really awesome ladies on my team.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, being on a ladies team, I think it's very important to maybe the facial reactions and, the good energy and all that. It happens with men too, but I'm saying I think women are, just maybe a little bit more emotional when you're showing all that stuff, right? So
canceled.
Exactly.
I applaud you. I applaud you for being able to show your facial emotions. But I will say that my 3 ladies, when I did show them, they were totally fine with it.
And that's fantastic.
It's tough. It's really tough, right? And it was good. But I do want to touch base. I don't know Shelley that well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was really good to see, and I don't know Yvonne all that well, but I've heard stories. I know what her accolades are. Many of you guys know, I'm a bowling nerd away, but she never really plays a whole lot, right? She hasn't played a lot of opens or a lot of other things, but she's super talented, and it was great seeing her play this year, and she played the Pro League this year.
Yeah,
and to be for her shows you how that team is really good. When they needed her to win a match, she was an anchor, right? I thought it's really good to see Yvonne back there. Yeah.
Well, and she used to be on TSNs too, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yvonne is just like, she's like superhuman in the interior up here. So like as soon as you see her trying out for an open, and like you say, it doesn't happen often. Then I think she's coming back next year. I hope anyway. But as soon as you see her name on the roster, you know that one of those top 6 spots are gone. So
Yeah.
she's just that fierce of a competitor. And like you say, I played her second all week at nationals. Because we kind of did that a little bit in the ladder at provincials, and she'll throw the anchor shots, but she's so comfortable anywhere in the lineup that it doesn't matter. It makes she's like a coach's dream. It makes our job really easy. So she's fantastic.
Yes. I thought it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see her coming back, right? So
it was nice. It was nice to see Jessie Buchanan play as well as she did too.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's so talented. She is so talented. I think she lacks a little bit of confidence.
Yeah.
And like, if she had that confidence, she could manhandle the field if she wanted to.
Yeah.
Really.
Jessie's so funny like that because I get what you're saying. She does. She's reserved and she is quiet and I'm not going to say lacks confidence, only because when it comes time to perform, she looks at you and she says, I've had enough of this shit. Like, I'm going to go out and finish the game. And then she does. And it's like, awesome. If she could carry herself with that level of confidence all the time, yeah, she would be fantastic. She is. She's such a, and if you get to know Jessie, she's hilarious. Like, she's so funny, and you just, if you get a chance to like get to know her a little, I highly recommend it. You won't be disappointed. She's a funny girl.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we can move on. I mean, I know your coaching is probably the most important thing that you got going on, but we probably want to maybe touch base on, Tyler just rolled his eyes, but touch base on maybe your center. Now, for many of you guys don't know, Chase is just south of Kamloops, correct?
It is east of Kamloops, yeah.
Okay, but okay. So
Canceled again, Tim. Learn your geography.
Oh, man.
Anyways, but it's not that far away from Kamloops. Get over it, Tyler, okay?
It's like 40 minutes from Kamloops, yeah.
See, that's not that far. It's like going to Wetaskiwin, right? So, anyways, it's an 8-lane small center, and I know a lot of centers out there are 8 lanes or smaller. But I think from an outsider looking in, you've done a really successful job out there promoting and being part of the community. Maybe can you touch base on some of your your wins and your losses? I mean, what are your struggles are in a small town, and then maybe how you kind of handle and support it. I don't know. Like you see a lot of small town centers here in Alberta struggling, and I see what you do out there, and it works very well. Yeah. So I think it all like kind of depends on where your small center is, but for us, for those of you, thanks, Ryan. For those of you that don't know where Chase is, it's 40 minutes east of Kamloops, and it's right on the Shuswap Lake. So for us in the summertime, we get the luxury of closing our center in the summertime because everyone is here for the lake. Nobody wants to be inside. And so that's what we've done for the past, like almost 8 years. But yeah, it's not a public bowling focused center only because we only have a population of about 2,500 people. And people, there's not much to do in Chase, but typically on the weekends, and myself included, like we need to get to Kamloops or Salmon Arm to go get some groceries, or we're going to take our kids and family and we're going to go and see a movie in Salmon Arm or Kamloops. And public bowling has been a struggle for us since day one. There's nothing, like we've tried every promotion in the book. We ran Kids Bowl free for
the first couple of summers that we were open, and not one kid for kids bowl free.
Really?
Which I know, like, for you guys that run those programs, like, that's insane to even think of that. But
So not
public
one kid
bowl.
signed up?
What's that?
Not one kid signed up or signed up to your YBC
People
program?
signed up, but no one showed up. And then at that point, like, we were paying staff, and there was like nothing, like, if you don't have people in buying that like extra pop or menu item or whatever, like, you're not even affording to pay your staff at that point, right? So we kind of got away from trying to make it a public bowling house, and we are super focused on our leagues. Like I said, we've got 2,500 people in Chase, and I think we've got over 300 league bowlers this year. So
That's
like,
huge.
it's a pretty good
awesome.
percentage of what's going on there. So super league focused, and then like, that's, you guys know, like, that's where your guaranteed money is for 30 weeks of the season, right? So in a small center like ours, we don't own our building, so we're still paying rent. And it's nice to be able to count on those league bowlers to keep coming back and supporting us year after year, and making sure that they have a bowling center to go back to. And then with that as well, my dad was always very tournament driven, and said, he's like, if you have a free weekend, throw together a tournament. So that's kind of our mentality. If we have a weekend where we have nothing going on, we'll throw together a last minute tournament, or we'll organize bonus fields throughout the year. And yeah, we've had none of you from Alberta yet, even though I've been bugging you for years. Just thought I'd get that dig in there. But we have a ton of people that come from the coast and up north and stuff like that. And basically, I think now with our tournaments, we get more out of town entries than we do like locals. So, which is great. Again, super supportive.
You guys have a great reputation for your tournaments. Everybody has such a great time going to them. It's amazing to see how many people travel, especially through BC. That's not always easy travel, and they do it all the time to go support you guys because of how great an event you guys put on.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Hey?
It's a big party.
It is. It's
Everyone
like, and
knows
that's just it. It's a party. Anytime there's a tournament, it's a party in Chase. So we have such a good time. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, if it wasn't for the out of towners, same thing, we would really be struggling, but they're just fantastic. So hopefully that's a trend that continues as well.
Obviously, you mentioned that like the fires have kind of pushed everything back, but do you guys have plans for a season opener tournament? Like, what's...
We don't typically have a season opener, actually. So something to maybe be thought about. But last year, I think in August, we ran a 20 gamer. And that was the first year that we did that, and it was pretty successful. And then we tried to run it this year, and just with everything going on everywhere, we ended up scrapping that for this year. But our first big one of the year, we have a 10-game singles in December, and we run it over 2 days. You can play as many shifts as you want. And then our big ones, though, are our like weekend-long bolus fields. They're like tiny, mini little tour stops for like a day. So, but we'll have like 32 team bolus fields for a weekend that'll run Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And those are like, if you're going to come to one, that's what you guys want to come to.
You love those weekends, and you hate those weekends.
Yeah.
It's like us running TPC. I love those weekends, and I hate those weekends.
I know. I tell, like, Kelly and I, at the end of every bowl spiel, we get home. So for those of you that don't know, like, how bowl spiel runs, is we started on the Friday at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And keep in mind, like in Chase, for staff, there's myself and my husband, Kelly, and one full-time person. Like, that's our staff. We're a staff of 3. So yeah, those weekends, we start at 2 p.m. on the Friday. It typically runs until about 11 p.m. Friday night. And then there's people like Mark Kitamura and Gordo Crew from the coast that are like pot bowling. And
I hate pot bowling.
You
love
eventually learn
home.
you gotta shut that shit down.
Man, it's my least. Anyone that knows me that's been to Chase knows like I despise it. And then so yeah, we try to be accommodating, so we do pot bowling, and then we go home for about an hour and a half and catch an hour and a half sleep, and then we're back there at 5:30 in the morning to start a full day Saturday, and then the exact same thing and do the exact same thing on Sunday. So we get about 3 hours sleep in the span of 2 days. We feed a dinner to everybody that comes to the event. So we feed like 130 people a dinner on the Saturday night. And then, yeah, it's just a weekend long party. So, but yeah, no, I hate them. We get home on Sunday night after. I love them, but yeah, we get home Sunday night after and we're like,
Never again.
We keep doing this. Like we're so stupid, but
Yeah.
But it's so good for the community. How do you not?
oh man, it's so much fun. They're my favorite weekends for sure.
Yeah.
But you hate them.
I hate them.
She
Like,
survives with
At
alcohol.
the time, they're so fun, but like I never remember to like take the Monday off work after.
Oh,
So then I have to go to work Monday, and I'm like,
Yeah, maybe you should tell that to everybody as well. You own a bowling alley, but you have a full-time job elsewhere.
I do have a full-time job outside of the bowling alley. Yeah. The bowling alley is like my side gig now, and Kelly essentially and Amy are full-time employee there. They run the show together, so I'm hardly there. You should have had Kelly on.
He didn't want to
seems
be
more
on.
fun. He seems more fun.
He is. He's way more fun. You know that I'm not fun.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Knowing you lost. Yeah. But so that being said, you're starting a new league on Sundays.
We
Like
are.
you're already there enough. You already have enough leagues, but you need to do one more.
Yeah, this is like the first league that we've added in quite a few years. But we're at the point where our competitive bowler base is growing. We've got people coming from Kamloops and people coming from Salmon Arm to join leagues in Chase, which is fantastic. And we need more than just like our Thursday night cash league. So yeah, we're going to run a draft league on Sundays this year. So
That's
thanks
awesome.
with the help from Dexter for helping me out with that. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
The center of the Constitution, call it a day. Yeah, there you go.
Throw caution to the wind and just see what happens.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
have a meeting with your captains and then make some decisions together, and it'll be fine. It'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
It'll be a
great.
learning curve the first time, and it'll be good after that.
That's
I mean,
okay.
If you talk to Tim, these events just run themselves, really. So
They do. Yeah, so it's kind of a...
Dexter, do
you know-
these events run themselves?
According to Tim,
You know,
they
okay,
do.
time out. Before everybody just loses their shit and says something they don't want to say, I will strongly say that the reason why I say that is because we've all been through enough events throughout the time that we've all been through a lot of different things that we've had to deal with. So for us, unless it's something really major, we know how to handle it. Right? And we know how to, hey, this is wrong, we can fix it with this. We have all these different things that we've done in the past. And to be honest with you, it's going to be okay. Like, I wasn't too worried about it, and so we're at Nationals or maybe at YC Provincials this year, and Katie is just freaking out. And I said, hey, just don't worry about it. It runs itself. Like, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. And, maybe because I've done enough of these things. But apparently, you tell somebody like that.
Look, I understand the sentiment. What you're trying to calm somebody down and say it's gonna be okay. But when somebody's working their asses off to try to make it work, and you say it just runs themselves, it doesn't. It doesn't come across the way you intend it to.
you did not hit a dinger with that line, my friend.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't intending to hit a dinger, so I'm perfectly okay with that. So
Yeah. You tried to bunt somebody to first, and they got caught.
it is what it is, right?
It happens.
Yeah, we've all been there before. Yeah. Oh, lightning elbows.
Man,
yeah.
haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah, I have an either lens, so let's just keep it the way it is.
So what-
anyways, you have a new league starting up. Let's just deflect what I'm going through
So
here. Okay? And
how many people? How many people in this league?
There will be 24.
Nice.
So teams of 3. Yeah. I have 22, and I've been like busting my ass trying to find 2 people, and those last 2 people are always the hardest. I don't know. It's always tough to find those last ones, but yeah, hopefully full 24 for September 10th start.
Is there a certain number of weeks you have to participate in it, like to win quarters or something like that?
You know what? You are asking me 1 week before the league starts, which is too soon to ask.
I was gonna say
I like the style.
Pick me in, pick me up at Kamloops. I'll fly in every other week.
Don't you tempt me.
are any of the guys from Williams Lake coming down?
No, not for the draft league.
It's
No.
a long ways away.
How far is Williams Lake? Is it south or north or east or west?
North. Williams Lake would be like 2.5 hours from us.
Oh,
Too
yeah.
far. Really.
That's-
Yeah.
Not a chance.
But they come down to all of our events, like Kevin McAlpine and Tyler McLean and those guys. They come down for any of our events that we run. They're fantastic. So
Just so Tim could see some geography.
Yeah.
Here's Chase.
Where's Chase? Like, it's just a big blob right now.
This is Chase right here.
Okay.
Chase.
Yeah.
look
yeah.
at how little it
This
is.
is
It's tiny.
And then this is Kamloops.
Oh, that's not that bad.
No.
And
it's just a highway.
Salmon Arm is just right over here.
Okay. Yeah.
You're right in the middle.
So Chase is
We're right in the
technically north.
Yeah.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah.
And then
I got
Williams
that.
Lake is way up here. Where are you? It's just up over here somewhere. Right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a ways.
Why
I'm getting
didn't
motion
you?
sickness from this.
Yeah. Why didn't you just go like Chase to Williams Lake? That would have been easier, so you could see the line. Anyways, so Kevin obviously. You know what, Cindy, you're right. I know where Kamloops is. I know it's north of Kelowna. I know Vernon's in between, and I know that blah blah blah. You're a lot smarter than I am. All right?
Can't be wrong if you just say blah blah blah. That's all the right answers.
Yada yada yada.
Oh,
But
boy.
yeah,
So Vernon
Any-
is between Kamloops
we know.
and Kelowna.
So, Calyn,
Yeah.
do you find it hard as a proprietor? You know, like Tim and Dex are in kind of the same boat. You're a bowler, coach, bowler. Do you find it hard to commit to like, yeah, I want to bowl all of my own leagues that I run, but I have to set time aside to be the business owner, to run the lanes? How do you balance that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my bowling went for a shit when we bought this bowling center. For the reason that, like you say, you'll be up on the lanes and then the phone is ringing, or you're on lane 1 and you see a tangle on lane 8, or you can hear a brake squeaking in the back and you're like, oh man, I gotta fix that, or whatever the case may be. The focus just isn't there anymore. And then as far as like bowling in a league, yeah, we try to take at least 2 leagues per, like myself, Kelly, and Amy, so that we can strictly just focus on our 2 nights that we have. And then somebody else will be behind the counter running the show, which is great. But yeah, it's tough for sure. And we get asked to spare a lot on other people's leagues, and we would want to, but we're working, or right? Like,
You could be honest, Calyn. If
no
somebody
one
asks
wants
me
a-
to spare on any night of the week that I'm
You say
not
no?
already bowling on,
No,
I'm
I would
sorry.
say no.
Not a chance.
Really?
I am, oh,
hey, but
God.
that, I love these people. They're like, I know you love your bowlers as well, but like,
Oh, we love them lots.
these
yes.
people are like,
No,
when
we
like
do.
when the team of 70-year-old ladies like asks me to bowl on their like Wednesday night team, I'm like, yes, I would like to do that, but I don't want to. Like, I don't have time to be doing that. It's the same thing as when like people see me bowling at like whatever kind of tournament, and they're like, and I'm not lying, people have said this, they're like, don't you own a bowling center? Like, shouldn't you be better at bowling? And like Tim and Dex, like, we've had this conversation where it's like, the last thing that I want to do when I've been at the lanes for 10 hours is stick around for another like 2 hours and work on my game.
Oh, exactly.
I don't want to do
but
that.
But that's the thing is, too, is like, okay, so Tim and I are there from 8 till 4 every day. At least 8 till 4 every day. I'm not sticking around till 9 o'clock to finish another league.
No.
I am not doing that. And yeah, the comment about like, you own a bowling alley, shouldn't you be good at bowling? The amount of people that think that we are good at bowling because we own a bowling alley
exactly.
is outrageous.
Ridiculous.
And it has nothing to do with that because I've done.
You're not putting in the extra time because you own. No, I know. It's like you probably put in less time than anyone else, to be honest. Yeah. Like, yeah, I don't. Yeah. That's the last thing I want.
If that was the case, Robert Gallagher would be good on tour. I'm just throwing it out there. Robert's gonna hear this and text me in about 3 minutes here. But
yeah,
it's true though. Nobody wants to throw extra balls, and I'll be honest with you, that's why we don't want to spare.
And that's fair. I don't spare. Like, to be clear, like I think I've maybe said yes to sparing like twice last year. But I just don't. I love being there behind the counter. Totally. I don't love being there as a bowler. And like people that bowl with me like know that now. Yeah. They're like, you seem unhappy to be here bowling. And I'm like, it's okay though, because like if you're happy here, that's all I have to worry about.
That's your temperament with bowling as a whole too though.
You know
even
that.
When we went to Williams Lake.
Oh, don't even talk to me about Williams Lake.
But like a dozen shots later and we were having a good time. but
a dozen, if you're gonna say it, get it right. A dozen juice box shots later.
They didn't have shots, so we were getting shots of vodka, and then
buying
they had juice boxes, like grape juice boxes, and we were squirting them in and doing shots with that.
Yeah,
that sounds
Williams
awful.
Lake. If you're Kevin, I don't know if you're listening. You guys need to like up your bar selection. Like if you want us to come back. You gotta up your
bowlers need incentive.
Okay, well, I guess this is a good leeway about Kevin. All right, so obviously they have a 5-pin pro league in there now, and I know some of the players are on it. Let's get some inside details. How do you think they're going to fare this year?
I think that they're going to fare just fine. To be honest, they've got a lot of bowlers that don't get to go to any of the tour events and stuff like that, just time permitting and family and whatnot. But a lot of those people are definitely like good enough to be playing the tour. So I think for Pro League, yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to fare just fine. They've got a lot of good shooters up there. So,
and their pinfall's fantastic.
Sorry, that was rude. Just kidding.
Silence.
It's fine.
I'm sorry. The pinfall was not your fault.
Did you bowl well that weekend?
I punched 1,000 times. That is never the lane's fault. But when I put it to the side, it was fine. The pinfall was not your problem, Calyn.
Didn't we talk about how when proprietors have issues with pinfall, we talk about the bands? What bands were they using?
I don't know. All I know is their approaches are faster than ours. Their approaches are super fast. It's crazy.
Chase's old bands, probably.
Yeah, we just box them up and ship them up north.
Buy them at $9.50, put them on for 3 months, or 6 weeks, and then sell them off for $8.
No more than 6 weeks. Got to change those suckers out. What a time.
I think my last question is, and I don't know if you've necessarily had to like work to recruit league bowlers or if they've kind of just been around like small town, they just kind of happen to pop in. But I would say here in Edmonton, we've noticed over, COVID and the economy and just people's lives changing. I think we've seen leagues kind of start to quiet down a little bit, or even people just like move around centers. What has Chase done or Village Lanes done to kind of have such a high retention and such a high percentage of league bowlers?
I think a lot of it is just like, to be honest, there's nothing to do here in the winter. You either have curling or you have bowling, and that's it. There's nothing else in Chase to do in the winter. So that's helpful for us. I think that like so many of the people that started bowling like 8-10 years ago here, we still have them with us. Like they're very supportive, and they just keep coming back time and time again. We do put like quite a bit into recruiting new bowlers. Like I said, doing, because it feels like home. Oh, that's nice juice. But yeah, we put as much work into it as we can. But after COVID, I don't know what happened for you guys in Edmonton, but like we exploded after COVID. That first year back last year, I guess it would have been like that first full season. We were full. Like our night leagues, every league was essentially filled up. This year, not as much, but I'm gonna chalk that up just because we haven't been able to work as hard as we typically would to get the people in the door. So we're having like a flash registration next week, and I'm hoping that a whole bunch of people just come in next week, but we'll see what happens.
We've been there before. I know how that works.
Right?
Flash registration. Let's hope somebody comes in, but
We'll see.
I think for bowling itself, I think COVID's been good, as in like whether it is public play or tournaments or league play. It depends on the center. I think up, for all intents and purposes, it's up. I think it's a good sign. Now some centers might have a little bit less of a turnout for league, but they might be busier in open play, right? It all depends on what that looks like, right?
Yeah.
Maybe touch base on your youth. On your youth out there, and I know your kids are probably playing it, right? But how's your youth program out there?
Our youth program was horrendous for the longest time in Chase. It's just like really, it's like anywhere. It's hard to get kids like these days out and actually doing stuff and not sitting at home on their electronics and whatever. But this past year was our best YBC year that we have had so far. I wanted to do just one day of YBC because that's all we had ever needed in the past. And I think at one point we had like 40 kids spread over like 8 lanes, and it was just it was a nightmare. Like it was like the best thing to happen, the worst thing to happen.
That's phenomenal though. I mean,
it was amazing.
Like even in Edmonton, like I think the biggest program is like 100 kids.
Yeah.
I think Silver's 130, I think.
Sorry?
St. Albert's 130.
Is it actually 130?
Yeah.
But like to have 40 in that community is
It was amazing, yeah. So hopefully this year, like we continue to see that trend. It's nice. And the beautiful thing about it, and like you guys will understand this, like they are all bantams.
Oh yeah.
Like they're all bantams. So if they get into it, they could stick around for
10
years to come, which would be great. Yeah. But yeah, it was a struggle for the first little bit, but we ended up getting into the schools last year. BC has kind of like a weird thing with their school system where unless it's like a school related sport, you can't always go and like drop off registration forms to be handed out and stuff like that. So last year was the first year that we actually got to go into the schools with registration forms and information, and obviously it made a huge difference. So hopefully this year we can do that again.
I get that with the schools. I mean, they're probably seeing a lot of garbage that come in, right? But I mean,
yeah,
it's no different in us. I mean, some schools, when you want to send to the kids boat free information or do something like that, you had to go through leaps and bounds in order to go in, right? So it's kind of a good thing that they do it, but also sucks too, right? So yeah,
I know.
It's a good, it's awesome though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seems like okay.
On that note.
No. But I mean, so I guess the thing is, Calyn, maybe, I mean, obviously you can see the success here with your 8-lane small center in a smaller community. Is there anything out there that, like, if there's another 8-lane center that came to you, what you would suggest if they're struggling?
Your top 3 tips.
Yeah.
Top 3 tips. That's a lot of tips. Top 3 tips. Okay, well, tip number 1 would probably be to stop like focusing so much on your public play and really like gear up to work on your league play. Whether that's like whatever that looks like for that center, but like really commit yourself to being 100% on board with supporting your locals that are paying their money to you week after week after week. and being supportive of them and taking their criticisms and their suggestions, because like I said, at the end of the day, those people are the ones that are keeping you in business in a small center setting. Tip
That's
number
one.
2.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Tip number 2, if you don't have a liquor license, get one. I know that sounds like, I know you're laughing because it's me, Tim, but like,
No, it's ridiculous.
if
It's huge money. It's huge
if
money.
you don't have a liquor license at any size of center, whether it's 8 lanes or 24 lanes, whatever the case may be, you are missing out on such a huge market and such a huge profit margin.
So our 16-lane center in a year brings in a gross revenue about $125,000 in liquor a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get a liquor license.
Get a liquor license. I can't, like, there's places out there that don't have them, that if they did, like, any money concerns that are happening, like for proprietors in 5-pin bowling right now,
Absolutely.
can be solved with a liquor license.
I'm not gonna lie, even sitting on the Masters board, like, I tried to have a conversation with them years ago, because we're like, how are we gonna get centers to take us on Saturdays and things like that, and it goes against, like, you know, Masters tradition out here anyways. I know there's some provinces that allow it, but like, I'm sitting there being like, guys, if they're gonna open up the center to us on Saturdays, you should be allowing us a drink.
Absolutely.
Because why would they take us when they could have public bowling where they're going to eat and drink and, you know, have a great time and pay full rates?
Yeah.
And you want us to run a tournament on Saturday and not even be able to have like a drink with them at a cut rate? It just doesn't
Absolutely.
work. So.
Yeah. And we're finding that like a lot in the interior right now as well. Like for us, public bowling is just not it's non-existent in Chase, but when you go to places like Vernon, Kelowna, and you have Bowl BC asking these centers like, hey, can you run this tournament for us on this date? And centers are having a tough time saying yes, because they're losing money doing that. And yes, it's good for the association and it's good for the sport, but I get it when they say, no, sorry, like I'm not giving up 12 birthday parties on a Saturday to run your 3-game tournament. I get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There has to be some incentive to do so.
There does, yeah.
Right, and at some point, and the nice thing is that we're starting to see that progression where they're starting to see it as a business as well, where for the longest time associations just kind of viewed it as a facility that they can run their tournaments in, but they didn't really view it as a business, and I think business owners are starting to see it more as a business now too, so it's forcing their hands a little bit, but at the end of the day, they have to do what's right for their business. You can't prop up associations with your business or your own personal time if you're not getting anything out of it.
100%. Yeah,
It's a give
totally
and take
agree.
situation. Give and take, right? Yeah.
For sure.
100%. So what's number 3?
Number 3 would probably be, if you aren't enjoying, and this like obviously goes for anything in your life, but as a proprietor and in this sport, if you're not truly enjoying what you do in this sport, you shouldn't be doing it. It takes and I've talked to Dexter about this before, it takes a special type of people to be proprietors in this sport and do it well. And the ones that you're going to find do it really, really well are the ones that really, really care about the sport. So if you're just doing it because you think it's going to be a fun little adventure, it's not easy and it's a lot of work. But make sure that you're invested and that you really care about the sport before you go and do that and sink a bunch of money into something, because it's not, like I said, it's not an easy thing to do. So
the bowling community is amazing. And if you're really invested into the bowling community will be invested in you.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
But it works both ways. And there's some centers that have opened up in the last little while that, you know, there are proprietors that wanted to run it and just don't like people. And if you don't like people,
we have those out here too. Like, and it's the same thing. And it's probably like, every business that you go into. Like you have people that are in customer service jobs that shouldn't be in customer service jobs. And it's just the same.
Yep.
It's the same thing across the board. But if you want to do it well, you have to have a vested interest in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Steve, not at nationals, and I believe it's a provincial board decision on whether they can play a drink at Masters or not. The only one that I know of for sure that used to be able to, I don't know if they still do, but Newfoundland was definitely able to drink at Masters for the longest time, and I think that has something to do with the sponsorship with Molson. But I do believe it's a provincial decision on that.
Yeah. My personal feeling, not association, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's something, but I also understand there's a difference between how you figure out what a sport is when you're allowed drinking. I get it. I don't know what the line would be, but we are not in a position to we need support of the centers. That's basically what we need. So
yeah, it's the only really
Yeah.
like proprietor-ran sport, right? There aren't a lot of other proprietor-ran sports. Baseball is ran at public facilities, things like that, right? Hockey, same sort of thing, but bowling isn't. So we have to find a way to make sure that the proprietors are happy so that they can keep the bowlers happy too.
That's right.
So I do have a question. Maybe it's number 4. So I know we find a lot of people that struggle. What about hours? How do you work your hours of operation? Like during your public play, do you get people to call in and make reservations and then you show up? Or is there set times? Or like how does that work for a smaller center?
Yeah, so for us, during our league season, we have daytime leagues, we've got afternoon leagues, and we have evening leagues. So we're open from 9 a.m. essentially until our night league is done around 9 p.m. So 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. we're open. If we don't have a league running, you can get a lane. But it's tough for people to get, like, it really is. It's tough for people to get lanes. And we do have, like, people that get frustrated and members of the community that are like, we want to come and support you, but you're not ever, like, there's never lanes available. And it's like, yeah, it's because we're filled with leagues, which...
It's your
Give us a
business
call.
model.
Give
That's
us a
right.
call, right? Give us a call. We'll tell you when it's available. We'll tell you what's
100%.
not available.
Yeah.
I had a lady come in and was mad that, like, we didn't always leave 2 lanes open during the leagues because we should be servicing the community as well. And I'm like, that's bad business.
That's bad business.
Like,
exactly.
why would we
And also-
willingly try to leave lanes open? Like, no.
Right? And also, like, the members of your league are members of the community. So, you know
Exactly.
what? Here's a pamphlet. Join a league. check out our website.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know it's crazy, but yeah, no, we take reservations if people call well in advance. So
That's good.
yeah.
Yeah, because I know some centers, like for example, Saturday you might have public, but you have to call them in order to come back, right? It's tough. It's tough for small
It is.
centers because you just don't know what you need staff or whatnot, right? So
Yeah, and that's the tough thing too. Like, and our staff, like I said, it's 3 of us, and Amy, she also has little, like, kids and a family and this and that, and you have to be fair with weekends. And then you run a tournament, and all 3 of us are in, and yeah, it's just it's a small nightmare, but like it's a good. Yeah,
it's a small nightmare, but it really is a nightmare.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
True story.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Maybe we'll just go on maybe a little side note and sort of what we also maybe want to talk about a little bit. I can't talk about all of it fully, but I think Calyn's a great person to have on for this because she's had good insight in the bowling community. C5, we had our C5 AGM, so it was a long 4 days. I was there Wednesday to Sunday. Anyways, there's a long bunch of days on there. There's going to be some changes this upcoming season. Some of it I can discuss right away, but some of it they're going to have to make their own. They're going to come out and say their stuff a little bit later on that aspect. But I think first one I think people are really going to be excited about is there going to be a change in dress code. Okay, so it was announced at the SAGM there's going to be a new dress code. So let me pull it up here. I actually had it here. It's more or less for the ladies, not for the guys. Maybe a little bit for Dexter, because Dexter's going to enjoy this part too. But
is there something about socks?
No, not about socks. But anyways, in the past, if everybody read the dress code, there was a limit on size of sponsorship and whatnot on your shirt, or how big your logos can be. Obviously, that's been out there, so there's no issue with that. But they're allowing headbands. They're allowing headbands, Dex. Hey, maybe the tour can maybe figure this out. But
the tour always allowed headbands.
Well, maybe the tour finals, but Kerry's not on here. Kerry can listen about this later and roll his eyes at me later.
They allowed headbands on tour finals. They just don't allow hats.
Okay, all right. So, anyway, headbands must be black or in your provincial colors. So at least there's some options out there for people who need headbands. Maybe Calyn needs one with her hair. Who knows, right? So, the biggest one out of all was that athletic leggings, including capris that fit tight to the leg, will be accepted. So you don't.
As someone who runs a tournament, thank God, because I hate having to ask bowlers to change.
And you know what? As a dude, I have no idea. I had somebody come up with a complaint, or I don't even know who filed the complaint, but somebody came up and said, "Hey, so and so wearing leggings, it's against the dress code." And I don't know the difference between, because you're allowed yoga pants, but you're not allowed leggings. And I just literally called her up. I was like, "Hey, are they leggings or are they yoga pants?" And they're yoga pants. I'm like, "Sweet." Like, good, because I don't know the difference.
And in all fairness too, I mean, for guys that are running the event, nothing is worse than coming up to a ladies, be, "Hey, by the way, I noticed your bottoms are not appropriate. Can you ask to change?" To me, I find that really creepy. Or, "Hey, by the way, your skirt or your skirt's is too short." That's another issue that I'm just happy it's going to be okay. So,
I think the change to allow leggings is years past where it should have been.
Yes.
You've seen curlers have been wearing Lulus forever, and I don't know. I just think, and it is as a proprietor or someone that runs tournaments, it always gets brought up. Always.
Oh, it's bad.
At every AGM after the tournament, the first thing that gets brought up is there was an issue with the dress code, and it's always about Lulu leggings. Always.
And it just negatively impacts the game. They're not getting an advantage, and you're deterring these people from ever playing again because they're going to be pissed off about it over something really silly.
And honestly, does it hurt the sport or affect the sport at all? Nope. So what are you worried about?
You know what? I completely agree with it. I understand the neat and tidy thing. I'm okay with that. And then you see some. What is your definition of neat and tidy? That's another thing. But I think at least it's on the right path. I was fortunate enough to be part of the one who was supposed to be in charge of it, and learning and having a committee towards it. It was. I don't think it's enjoyable for anybody who was part of it. It's just something that you never like to talk about, and again, it has nothing to do with it. The curlers, obviously, women golf, they have a whole different dress code that maybe not bowling-esque, but it's different, and at least we're kind of going to the new part on that. Also, interprovincials is changing this year. I know, Calyn, you guys are big in that, helping on Chase. The bonus is with interprovincials, nationals is going to be a double round robin now. For anybody that followed it, it was always Desha went to nationals as a coach. You played every team once, and that's all it was. We felt that you're going all this length to the province is discussed. It's really nice to maybe you go and play a double round robin. Yeah. So it's going to be more games there. You're going to have another night there. You can come in on Wednesday instead of Thursday. You're going to play your nationals, and at least it's going to maybe have there's more games.
It's going to feel like a national event.
Yeah, I think that was really important. I mean, I thought that was one of the big ones there when it comes to that aspect.
Something completely like side note, something kind of neat, like when we were at a club tour a couple weeks ago, talking to the duck pitters. They have like an 8-game qualifying block the same way that we do for our tour events. You can only, but you can't re-enter. But our Sunday finals to them are just absolutely wild because they play single game single game bracket, one-sided. They'll play 7 games or 8 games max, and they're done. And like, to win club tour, it's 30 something.
Yeah.
It's wild. They're like, it's mind blowing. It's neat. Anyways.
So it's totally fair. So it's nice that we finally have another alternative, or it gets a little bit bigger on that. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking through all the stuff that we got accepted. You challenged that's a different story. There is a new format in for 2024, but that's another topic down the road. Tournament formats. 10th frame rule for the Open is now a thing. So Open Nationals, just like Masters, I don't know about your provincials, but the 10th frame rule is in effect. So the person on the right will now have the say on whether you want to go first or second. So it kind of keeps teams from running the 10th frame and keeping things close, right? So I think that's a good rule. Tyler, do you agree?
Yeah. I think it was pretty much already followed. Like, it wasn't a set in stone rule, but I think most players auto respected it in a way.
Correct.
Unless the match was way out of hand.
Because that's the way it is in our Open provincials.
Yeah.
It is.
So,
yeah.
I mean, for us, it's at least normal to get up on the lane and wait. I think the only thing that may come into play is that right hand bowler actually gets the say, which really it's not a big difference unless you're in a 3-point match or something like that.
The only time it's a really big difference is if there's a tangle, because you can if there's a tangle, you can run 12 strikes in a team and be while they're waiting, right? So yeah
10-pin rule.
Anything else 10 frame.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing there. For your proprietors out there and your associations, lane certification, we made it and finally a national standard. So this happened at the SA Gym, but it comes in effect this season. So for many of you guys out there, depending on what province you're in, you might have to certify it once a year. You might have to certify it twice a year. So we came up with a national standard for it. Certification for wood lanes is required every 2 years. Okay, and synthetic lanes is required every 3 years. All right, now the 3 years I think is just a starting point, and who knows, maybe down the road it might be 5 years. Things don't change much on synthetics, so it saves the proprietors a little bit of money and saves honestly those lane agents, because I know some provinces like Northern Ontario or Northern Manitoba, they have to go everywhere and and they have to go across the whole province to do it every year, and it's a lot of work, right? So
this is going to be, I think, honestly huge for BC. Because BC already struggles getting certification as it is, right? There's a lot of setters. The vast majority are not certified, right? But if you're having synthetic, and you only have to do it once every 5 years, that's huge. Especially when having somebody drive up to, Prince George to go certify lanes, that's a lot. That's really tough.
Yeah. Our issue was for the longest time that there was nobody doing certifications in BC.
Yeah.
They didn't have anybody going around doing them because we didn't have people available, or they were busy. A lot of them that were doing it were proprietors, and they were busy with their own centers and this and that. So, yeah, that would be ideal. That'd be great.
That'd be good. Yeah. Obviously, I don't know if you know, and I know BC brought it because Jason Kennedy did it, but a few years ago before COVID was the lights. Right, so people with shields. Obviously, shields is a huge expense, and so Jason brought in, and we got accepted was the light system. So the lights. I don't know if you guys use that out there.
We don't have. So we haven't installed it yet. We're planning to, but we don't have shields because we don't have space in the back. When we built the lanes, we had shields, and then. for whatever reason, I can't remember why, we had to have an electrician come in at one point to work on a machine. And he's like, this is a problem. Like, you don't have enough space between your voltage boxes and XYZ, and you're going to need to cut out a couple feet. And one way that we had to do that was, we had to take our shields out and push our machines back. So we don't have space for shields right now. But yeah, Jason was fantastic when he came up with that light system.
Huge idea, yeah.
Amazing. Like, I know we had, when we didn't have our shields, we had one perfect game that was gold that they were not going, I'm sure you guys remember that, it went to C5, but yeah, that they weren't going to sanction it. And then that's kind of right around the same time that Jason started on that light program there. So
I honestly think the light system is a better system than shields too.
I do too.
Because it's instant, right? It's instant. You could tell right away when that light is on. Whereas like, you know, even watching like other tournaments and other centers and stuff, sometimes it's, even though the shields are there to show when the machine is cycling, you still can't see it. You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes
is it a
it'll
slow
go up
falling
and
thing,
down,
or is it the shield? Yeah.
Or is it, the light on is instant. You know right away.
Yeah.
So I guess what we can say is, I was really happy with Jason. Obviously, that was a negative situation, and he turned it into a positive with a better solution, right?
Yeah.
So it was great to see the light system. So yes, everybody hear that? Chase is planning on putting the light system in. Just probably part of Kelly's maintenance down the road, right?
So poor Kelly. That guy's a rock star.
He is, yes.
Yes. I feel bad for him.
I'm glad we just added some more stuff for him on that.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
No problem.
He'll be thrilled. He'll be like, how was the podcast? And I'll be like, you need another week of maintenance.
Hey, did I just notice that you and Tyler drinking the same drink?
Look, he's got so much free time now that he's not changing fans every 6 weeks.
And I don't think we're ready to talk about that like in full yet, because I think he's still like.
Look, even us getting these new bands, I outright asked right away, "What's the lifespan?" He's like, a year." Perfect.
Yeah, he thought that you were trying to, like, I don't know if I ever told you this, but like when we were driving home the next day, and he was like, do you think Dexter was serious about his bands? And I'm like, he said he was. And he's like, I think that guy is trying to like dupe me. He's like, I think that he's trying to like put that one on me and like see what happens. And then I'm like, well, whatever. Like, I guess we'll just try it and see what happens. But yeah, it was fine. I don't do the maintenance. I'm the face.
Why would I sabotage you guys? What have I got to gain in that?
There were juice box shooters happening.
There was, yeah.
You know, and I will say this right now too. I really don't think your bands could probably last longer because one, your open play is not as much prevalent.
Yeah.
And two, you guys are closed during the summer, so you could probably like get a year's and a half worth out of that.
Honestly.
Yeah. I'm not gonna tell him that. I'm not gonna. Dexter, you can text him and tell him.
Apparently he doesn't believe me anyways.
I don't know. Well, no, now he does.
That's good.
So when we went home, so like, and this is like something else to just quickly touch on, and I don't know, I would imagine you guys probably deal with this as proprietors. I know that we do. As soon as like you see a couple sets of aces or whatever the case is, the bitching and complaining obviously follows, and it's, when did you change the bands last? You must have just changed the bands. Did you just change the bands? And it's like, so when we went back after Williams Lake, and I think, I don't know, one of our competitive bowlers threw a set of aces and came over and was like, you just changed the bands. And Kelly's like, the bands aren't getting changed the rest of the year. And it was like November. Yeah. And he's like, no. He's like, we're not changing bands anymore. Dexter says no.
we got some really random stuff. My favorite, this is my favorite moment. And this is from like a competitive good bowler. She was bowling Thursday nights, and I was working Thursday nights at the time. And she came up to me, and she goes, what have you guys changed? I was like, absolutely nothing. Like, what are you talking about? We haven't changed anything. I don't have time in the winter to change
it. It cannot be how you're throwing the ball.
Yeah. So she goes, no. you guys have changed something. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I haven't ripped that many 3-pins in my life, and they are not bad balls. And I looked at her and said, have you tried hitting the middle?
To be fair, I can also see myself saying something like that. To be fair.
Like,
So
it was funny. Sometimes you just gotta smile and nod.
She also
Yeah.
had a lot of juice box shooters that night. You didn't know Dexter. She just took them before she came to bowling.
Maybe.
maybe. Yeah. I'm going to put juice box shooters on the special list at Village Lanes this year.
All right.
That's not bad.
I will show up for an event.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will.
Dexter, the
I've
big,
got all
the,
sorts
big,
of free time now.
the big event,
I'll
Dexter,
see you in Chase.
Yeah.
is during Regina. The big
Huh?
events during Regina. Like they're, whatever,
Oh, the
their
bowl
bowl
spiel.
spiel.
Yeah, I know. That's tough because we have a lot of people that go to Regina that would typically come to the bowl spiel. What weekend is Regina?
The last
been a-
weekend in February.
February, like
Last-
mid-February, right?
Last weekend in February.
Well, hey, maybe I'll have to run it. That's the issue, though. Even if I run it the weekend before, like that's 2 big travel weekends in a row, right?
And that's your probably your family day
Timmins.
long weekend too. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And you have
Timmy,
Timmins
yeah.
in February.
Yeah.
Kathy, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but there isn't a lot of shooters per se in Williams Lake, so we were getting like little cups of like vodka.
they were like ketchup containers.
It started off with spiced rum. We did straight spiced rum, and it wasn't great. And then we got straight vodka, and it also wasn't great. So we bought a little juice box of grape and squirted it in, and it got dramatically better. It wasn't.
Could also be the number of shots you did.
I think is what happened. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it got better. I think we just got more intoxicated.
If you need to do that again, spiced rum and apple juice tastes like apple pie.
Don't
So
tempt me
if
with
you
a good time.
if you
We-
need a juice box shooter,
we went with the wrong juice box.
Damn
you
it.
sure did.
Where was Tyler when we needed him?
Still 18 and still learning how to do shots.
Good job. This kid could be like my protege on the drinking, not the bowling.
Yeah. we did have a lady, just to digress, we did have a lady on telling about stupid stories today. She was an elderly lady, probably in her 60s, Dex, today. And she came with her daughter and her granddaughter and was like, hey, so we want a bowl. It's like, perfect. Okay, and I asked what size shoes. You normally ask what size shoes. And then so she goes up and she's like, her granddaughter says like three or four, whatever it was. And okay, that sounds about right. And then I look at her and she's like, oh, I don't really know, because people like, I don't know what size, right? And it's like, a size 1. And I looked at Dex.
You're
and
like,
I'm like, no. I was like, no, sorry, I don't think you're. I'm trying to keep a straight face. She's like, yeah, I haven't bought shoes in a very long time. Maybe it's size 2. And I was like, okay, I'm looking at Dexter giving eye contact, like, okay, she already knows I think she's weird. So I said, try these on. We gave her size 8s, and then she wore them.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That happens all the, like, I don't know if you deal with that. That's all the time. Like, it's amazing that people don't know what size their feet are. I find that maybe it's because we work in that industry. I find it so strange. I'm like, what size feet are you? And they're like, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. What?
Steve,
which is,
as long as you shave your head, no one will know.
But I get it. I mean, like, I know, you know what, you could be an 8. I don't know if I'm a 7.5, maybe 8.5, 8, 9.
You're
whatever.
probably a 6.5.
Yeah, totally, right? But it's like a 1. I just mind blown. Like, that is out to lunch. What kind of shoes is she wearing? How long was she wearing them? Is she wearing shoes at all? I have a lot of questions
Yeah,
about
maybe
it.
maybe she's a flip flop gal.
Maybe she's a flip flop. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she gets her knits. I don't know. Maybe she's wearing knit ones. I don't know. Like,
Her knit slippers?
you'd be surprised what people wear nowadays. I don't know.
Do you have like the bowling employee skill of guessing people's shoe sizes
Oh,
though?
unbelievable.
Super
Every
Yes.
single person that walks up to the
Yeah.
counter, I guess in my head before they... And I'm right 75% of the time without looking at their feet.
Yeah.
Like, you... Honestly,
It's
you
weird.
look like you're a size 11, ladies. Yeah. No, you're
Yikes.
probably 7.5.
Yikes. Yeah. No, it is. It's weird. Or like the knack of like remembering people's shoe size. I get
Yeah.
that a lot
Oh, yeah.
too. Where you just hand them their shoes and you're
Yeah.
like, gosh, you are so like you remember everything. It's weird. It's a horrible like talent to have.
Dude, we see you 30 straight weeks.
I know.
There's like no excuse for us to not remember.
True story. Do you guys like know like could you tell me every single one of your bowlers' names? Like do you know them
Yes.
all by name? Yes.
I know
90%.
95%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also know what they drink too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have a liquor license.
Yep.
Making money.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Tyler, you miss all this stuff, don't you, now that you don't work at a bowling alley?
Nope, not at all.
No.
Do you want me to think about that? No, I don't.
Tyler,
This is why Tyler's smart.
maybe.
I have not worked at a bowling alley for quite some time.
Yeah, there's nothing more when you deal with a customer and you go in the back and it's like, fucking bitch.
Honestly.
There's nothing more satisfying than you go in the back. It's like, yeah, you're great. Yeah, absolutely. Big smile. And it's like, I fucking loathe you. Like, there's nothing more than more. Yeah, that's a bowling alley. That's a bowling alley right there. Yeah.
That's true.
There's so many frustrations that like members of the public will just never know. We could do we could do a whole segment on things that just like piss you off as a
We
proprietor.
should.
We
should
could.
do that. That sounds like therapy.
So
Right?
I will say the one time I kind of like lost a little bit of a screw, and I love Mark. I love Johnstone to pieces, right? And Mark was complaining about the approaches, and this was before we went to synthetic. I think it was the same year.
It was,
and he was just upset about it. And sometimes you can't fix the wood the way you want, whether it's there or not, right? And I went back and you know what he said? It's so sticky. And me and Dex were at a concert. I think
No, I was working that night.
Okay, no. And I absolutely took the approach cleaner and I went from front to foul line. And it was like just his lane and it was absolutely glass.
Like spotter?
Yeah, spotter. I did everything, the whole lane. I did it right.
For you.
No, but that was the week after, because the week before he was on 15, 16.
Yeah.
And like 16 was like.
Okay, we're not
sticky.
upset with Mark. It's just a
No,
normal league bowler.
not even remotely. It was just funny because like I cleaned it, and then he was like, "This is way too fast." Like, well, what do you want me to do now, Mark? You want me to go grab a hose? Like I'll go water down the lane.
So we had our we have an invitational tournament. It's essentially like a mini open.
Yeah.
In the interior, and it runs on a Saturday, Sunday. So Saturday we're running the event, and all is fine and well, and people are scoring well. Everything's good, and like. I don't know about you guys, but like when we host tournaments, like we'll indulge like in a couple beverages as we're doing our thing. And at the end of the night, we were like getting ready to clean up. And I looked at Kelly. I had like gone away to maybe like clean the other room. And I come back and I look at Kelly and I'm like, what are you using on the lanes right now? Like to clean the lanes? And he's like, I'm just using some spotter. And he did like the whole lanes in like spot, see, Kelly tried to kill us. So the next day, and Kelly was like shit canned. He was hammered that night. Cleaning, he must have used like a full thing of approach spotter. Everybody came in the next morning and it was like a 6 a.m. start. And we had like people falling down, like Roland Handley. I don't know if you guys know Roland Handley, Shelly Stuchnow, like people that should not like be a little concerned
should not be falling
themselves if they fall. People were falling down all Sunday. It never got better. Just in a drunken thing, he's like, I think I'm just gonna try this today. And like maybe on any other day. Maybe not today.
I have used that before. We had our wood. I used that for stripping the lanes.
I love spotter. It's my favorite like thing, and it's hard to come by now. Like I don't know, can you still get it?
You can probably get it. You can get it in the aerosol. You can still get it in the container.
I love it.
Ever
Like the
since we
spray
went to the
spotter.
synthetics, we clean everything with just water. We don't have to do anything other than just water.
What if like somebody comes up and is like, "Oh, it's sticky."
Water.
What?
We have, like, seriously, since we have had synthetics, we have not used any approach cleaner besides water the entire time.
I can get on board with you like telling me not to change the bands, but like
I'm telling
water?
you,
This
100%.
is too far.
It is, at least with ours, it just, everything wipes off like nothing. Like nothing. A little bit of water, good to go, dry it off, done.
I do think our approaches have gone definitely heavier over the time, but not like
little bit.
not like crazy heavy. Like
That's normal though. Like
I
that's
think bowlers just have like a traumatic response to water, and it's just
Oh.
like you got to give us some time. You got to ease into it.
it's like a show and shine, right? You know, wet and then dry, right? You just that's how you kind of do it.
that's
Yeah.
how you do it.
Rubbing alcohol is another good one. Yeah, we use that for the pin decks. Yeah, rubbing
Yeah.
alcohol. I just worry about the approach cleaner, like with synthetic lanes. Does it wear through, right? And that's kind of my big worry about it.
Yeah, I just don't want to take
How
off that
often?
laminate.
How much do you want to put on it before it wears down? I just don't know, right? So wax on, wax off. You're right, just like that, Kevin.
Nice.
Yeah.
It looked great.
Yeah, absolutely. See, we know what it is, right?
Yeah. Oh man.
Calyn, do you have any parting comments for us? I don't know if I am out of questions.
I don't. Thank you guys for having me on. It was fantastic.
How many White Claws did you go through?
I only went through one. I opened 3 because I was scared. And then I was like, well, I don't want to have to like get up and get another one and like leave. So I still have to finish one of them.
Good work.
Yeah, well done.
Would you expect any less?
No. But I did see any grape juice boxes, so it must have been fine.
I'm not doing that. Nope.
All right, any other questions, comments, anybody, before we finish this up?
All good.
Awesome. Well, first I'd like to
Thanks,
thank
guys.
all of our Patreon members. If you guys want to subscribe, patreon.com/5pinuniverse. This is how we put all of these fun things on for you. And other than that, thank you so much for coming on, Calyn.
You betcha, guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We'll run our closing stuff and have a great week, everybody. We'll see you all next week.
Yeah.